Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have a special guest, Patty Lemer, and she's a best-selling author. She's come out now with her fourth book, and she's joining us here today to talk about her fourth book, which is very, very, very important. It's called The Total Load Theory: Transforming Lives in Autism, ADHD, LD, SPD, and Mental Health. And so it's kind of this idea of all of this total load contributing to these neurodevelopmental disorders among our children. So, Patty, give us a bit of background about yourself, and let's dig into the book.
Thank you, Nick. I have always been a heretic. I've always asked why. And I grew up with a sick grandmother who eventually killed herself after 4 tries. And it was heartbreaking for me. And she was lobotomized and treated so horribly because of her, quote, mental disorder, unquote. She was depressed and behind all that, there were reasons why she had so many issues, and nobody looked at the reasons. And she was just so close to me, and I wanted to know what was going on, and that's what propelled me into this field. And so I went into psychology and to mathematics with psychology because I always loved crunching numbers and to be able to quantify what was going on. And so for over 30 years, I gave tests to see what was going on with kids who were presenting with behavior and learning problems. And unfortunately, I was giving the wrong tests. I was giving IQ tests and achievement tests. It didn't answer the why part. But when I learned how to interpret them a little bit differently, I got very involved with some of the why answers by asking the questions like, well, what did he have for breakfast? And asking a child, do you ever see double? And having kids look at me and their mother saying, you never told me you see double. And so I got very involved with some of the adjunct professions, nutrition, optometry, occupational therapy. And I formed in 1993 a nonprofit because I was working alone and I was kind of tired of doing that testing over and over again. And one day, a mom came to me and she told me about her son. It was a Friday afternoon, and I was kind of bored and I was answering her questions before she asked them. And she said, how do you know all this? How do you know he drinks gallons of milk? And I said, because I've heard your story before. And she said, well, that's impossible because my pediatrician told me that he was unique. His name was the same as yours. He was Nick. And I said, unfortunately, he's not unique. I've seen hundreds of kids like this. And she said to me, well, I'm a lawyer and I'm a nonprofit specialist. And if you give me $250 and know 3 other people who can put money on the table, I'll help you start a nonprofit. So in 93, more than 30 years ago, we were the first nonprofit, the first website to look at some of the underlying causes of these disorders. And we put out a survey when we had to do it with a stamp on an envelope and through snail mail and send it out to people. And we got over 600 responses in a couple of weeks. And it blew us away. We asked parents open ended questions and some multiple choice questions about what they thought happened to their kids. And they told us, well, I think he's allergic. I think he is toxic. I think he had too many vaccinations. I think he had too many antibiotics. And each case was a little bit different. And we were looking for what was causing these problems with our survey. And the answer was everything. And it wasn't any one trigger. Every child was different, and the triggers added up. And we saw the same risk factors that the child had colic, that chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation, rashes, respiratory problems. And so I looked in the literature and I discovered this term, total load theory, which is an engineering term. And it explains why a bridge collapses. And what happens is that the last thing that goes over the bridge, the last overloaded truck that gets blamed, is really the straw that breaks the camel's back. And the same is true of our bodies. We have a tolerance level, and it can tolerate and tolerate until it can't anymore. And so, whatever that last thing was that put the child's over the threshold, that was considered the cause. But we knew it wasn't that thing alone, that it was everything that accumulated.
So, looking at this picture here on your book, The Total Load Theory, I see all of these massive rocks. It seems, or it appears, that most of these rocks, or a lot of these rocks, have been increasing over time. Is that correct? So, kind of
That
this,
is correct.
so this load, this bridge keeps becoming heavier and heavier. And so, does that mean it's easier for any one of these things to break the bridge?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're living in a very toxic world, and I enumerate these stressors in the book. The stressors are both in our bodies, in that we're unable to detoxify, or that we have a genetic mutation that makes it problematic, and they're external. So we have bad air and bad water, and we're eating processed food with bad ingredients, and we're getting more vaccines. And so this all just accumulates. And unless our bodies are working well and have not had significant traumas to them, uh, they're going to get sick. And eventually they're going to have the person's going to get a diagnosis.
So, what are the diagnoses? So, tell us. So, this encompasses. So, I read in the intro to your book, what it's 1 in 6 children have a neurodevelopmental disorder in the U.S. Is that correct?
Isn't that appalling?
It's
It,
crazy. I mean,
It's
that's
appalling. It should be on the front page of every newspaper, and people should be upset about it. No matter where I go, who I talk to in a new situation. Patty, what do you do? I work with families of kids with issues. Oh, I have a son with, pick one. And everybody has a son or a cousin or a nephew or a grandchild or a next door neighbor with one of these conditions. It's just appalling.
it's appalling. It's appalling. And all the detractors will say, "Well, oh, it's because the screening increased." Tell us why it's not because of solely an increase in screening and diagnostic criteria. Tell us why it's real, biological, neurological effects.
It's real because it's coming from the environment, and there's no such thing as a genetic epidemic. It takes years, about 20, a generation, for genetics to change. This has to be environmental. It has to be related to our lifestyle. And I have a whole chapter on our lifestyle and how that is interfering with our ability to have a healthy life.
Yes. Well, talk to us a bit about it. Actually, talk to us a bit about the primary factors, the primary exposures that you think are important. I saw EMFs in there. Nobody really likes to talk about EMFs, but you did, and I think it's very important because it's really unaddressed and largely untested when they roll out these novel technologies.
Right. So electromagnetic fields are what you can't see. They're in the air. They come from our machines, like the ones you and I are talking on. It comes from our cell phones and the cell phone towers that transmit these this information via satellite. And we're now up to 5G. Some places even have 6G, and that means generation. And it is each generation of electromagnetic fields is thousands of times more powerful than the one before it. And so these towers pop up overnight, and the utility companies buy space on the top of tall buildings. So they pay churches, they pay schools to be able to put these towers nearby where they're affecting our kids' health. And this just isn't good for the nervous system. So the nervous system gets agitated and it thinks it's in danger, and it affects every aspect of our being. It affects our digestion, our ability to our blood quality, and our body's ability to do what it's meant to do. And it can't digest properly, and it affects our sleep, it affects our ability to move, it causes us pain, depending upon how many factors you have in your on your bridge.
Now, tell us a bit about each of these factors in a little bit of detail, like the pesticides, like the heavy metals, like the vaccines. Kind of give us a brief overview of kind of that entire breakdown.
So each of those is a chapter in the book. and and so the pesticides, there's some people who think, and even in Dr. McCullough's book, he talks about the polio epidemic and how that might have been related to DDT, which was banned. And some of the pesticides today, and herbicides like glyphosate, are interfering with our body's ability to function. And our vaccines, which you guys are doing a great job of getting the information out, contain some additives called adjuvants. And these additives potentiate the vaccine at the same time that they interfere with our body's function. And so I was around in the 90s when we had hearings about mercury in vaccines, and it's out now of most of the vaccines. I think it's still in one of the flu vaccines. But so now we replaced the mercury with aluminum, and the body just doesn't know what to do with aluminum. And Bobby Kennedy talks about fluoride in our toothpaste and everywhere else. So in the health freedom movement, we're trying to get these poisons out of our environment. And if you want fluoride, then buy a toothpaste that has fluoride, but it shouldn't be in our public drinking water. And all of these are hidden, and how they get in there requires all kinds of legislation. And so tomorrow's election day, and we should be mindful of who feels what about health freedom. And we're not crazy about mandates that look at one size fits all and says that you must get this vaccine, you must drink water with fluoride in it, because some people don't want to do that. It's not, they realize that that raises their total load an increment, and every increment adds up to a straw that breaks the camel's back.
Wow, yes, yes, indeed. And it's crazy to me that some of these elected representatives are still trying to impose that fluoride additive in public water supplies. It's just ridiculous. There's all the evidence shows that not only does it fail to prevent cavities when it's added to water, but it literally increases neurodevelopmental issues. And when they spill the concrete hydrofluorosilicic acid, or sorry, when they spill hydrofluorosilicic acid, which is what they use in some of these water plants, it burns through concrete. Like, why would you
Imagine,
want to be ingesting that?
imagine what it does to your body. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we have that. What else do we have? So many things. What else is important? What other?
Well, a lot of it is our societal changes. And I talk in the book about societal stressors. For instance, schools start too early. Kids have are not getting enough sleep. They stay up late and they have to get out of bed before it's even light out. We are using screens now instead of pencils and paper. And some of our kids are on screen 6 to 8 or even more hours a day. And what is that doing to their attention and their vision and their ability to conceptualize, where they have the visual on the screen instead of in their mind's eye? Vision is a pet of mine. I love talking about vision. And as I said earlier, I've become very friendly with the optometric world, and I've acted as a bridge between optometry and the public, teaching the public the importance of vision, which is how the two eyes work together with the brain. It's much more than eyesight, it's not just the clarity of what you see. And so vision has to become your dominant sense. It's dominant in listening. And I once did a seminar on that, and I had an optometrist present at an auditory conference about language. And people said, "Well, what does vision have to do with listening?" It has a lot to do with it because you conceptualize in your mind's eye. And when the only thing kids have are screens that show them what it should look like, they lose the ability to conceptualize, organize, ideate, and have those high level visual skills that make them have the ability to be functional and organized.
So that's very dangerous. Yeah, I know, most kids now, they're given an iPad at, the age of 4. If they don't have the iPad, they'll start crying.
Right,
All the teenagers, yeah, they have 12 hours of screen time a day. They don't go outside anymore. They don't have real
right.
experiences. So how else is that bad, right? Because is it also just destroying their attention spans
It
because
is.
they
It
are
is.
being manipulated by these social media algorithms, just feeding them these instant dopamine hits?
It is. And you brought up another good point, is that they're inside. They don't go out in nature and breathe fresh air. Outside air, no matter how dirty, is cleaner than inside air. And you don't have those rays coming off your computer and your Wi-Fi all the time. And these are destructive to developing brains. And kids are not learning how to move their bodies in space. And many of them are clumsy and do not have the skills that we did. They aren't playing hopscotch. Kids today probably don't even know what hopscotch is. That I spent hours playing hopscotch, but I'm an old fart. So it's appalling to me that we're not sending kids out. And there are a couple books about that, about nature deficit disorder, a made up disorder, but it's true. So many of our kids have it. And they're not walking on walls, they're not building forts. And a lot of it is about safety issues. And it's not safe to go out into the woods. We were told to go out until the street lights came on. And kids are not safe to do that in today's world. And if you don't feel safe, your vagus nerve is not working properly. And the lack of feeling safe underlies many of the issues that our kids have. And we have helicopter parents who don't feel safe, who are encouraging kids to be careful, don't trip, and it's become a a line that we hear daily. Travel safe, be safe out there. We shouldn't have to worry about being safe. And the fear mongering about being safe is only one of the fears that we get from the media. Oh, those bugs out there, they're really dangerous. Get your vaccine and wear your mask because it's dangerous out there. And every cell in your body hears it when mommy says, be careful. Don't climb that tree. You might fall down. And all those fear mongering statements underlie how our kids enter their world. They're not entering confidently anymore because they hear those voices in their head. Is it okay? Is it okay? And we crossed the street. We played in the street. Uh, I lived close to the fire station. We had them put up barriers on the street when it snowed so we could ride our sleds down the street. That just doesn't happen anymore.
So the fun and everything that children used to do to get all these experiences and to live an actual childhood are just simply disappearing. And
They are.
imagine in 10, 20 years when we have even more kind of hypnotizing technology that will further entrench children. When we have these biological implants that brain
Please.
implants, right? What happens when all of that comes?
Oh, please. I don't know. I don't know.
Then yeah, then we'll be in a very bad situation. So what do we do? How do we fix all of this? How do we reverse the 1 in 6 children with neurodevelopmental disorders? What's the best course of action?
The best course of action is old fashioned play, at least 8 hours to 10 hours of sleep for adults, 10 to 12 hours of sleep for kids. We've got to rethink our education. We've got to rethink our health system. We've got to go back to the old ideas that a fever is the body's way of detoxifying, a rash is the body's way of getting rid of poisons. And we don't want to suppress those. And I added a new chapter in this book on bioregulatory medicine. And that's the energy of words, the energy of fear mongering, the energy of good, positive thinking that we have to replace the fear mongering with. And I have tons of ideas on how to improve the quality of kids' lives, how to get them to sleep better, how to make the bedroom a sleep sanctuary with organic materials, with no electronics in the bedroom, how to get kids to move every day, to eat real food, to not buy anything that's in a package, to read ingredients, to eat seasonally. There's tons and tons and tons of ideas, of books, of resources, of websites, of podcasts like yours to get people to change some of the habits that they've developed. And the biggest one is just to cook. And when you go out to a restaurant, where did that chicken come from? Who was its mother? How was its life before it was slaughtered? And what kind of oils are they using? Are they seed oils or are they good quality essential fats like olive oil? We want to up the quality of everything we do. And I hope that people will buy this book as a holiday gift to give people a year to think about, what do I need to do in the next year to improve the quality of my kids' lives and my family's lives? How do we get the toxins out? How do we eliminate their exposure to things like electromagnetic fields by turning off the Wi-Fi at night? These are such little things that you can do that make big differences.
So this is a very important book for, new mothers or any mother really to have, or grandmothers or fathers to, help improve their kids' life and not fall down the path of this constant, neurodevelopmental challenges that, now over 15% of kids are facing. So this is an essential book. And so when does it come out, Patty?
It comes out on the 25th of November, and you brought up a lot of different markets for the book. The last chapter is on prevention, and every prospective couple should read that chapter. I want them to think about detoxing a good year before they put that baby in the oven, because healthy parents have healthy kids. And any parent of a child of any age should read this book, because it goes from conception and preconception through adulthood. What happens to these profoundly autistic, profoundly disabled people when mommy and daddy aren't here anymore? Who's going to take care of them if they're not independent? And the book is also for practitioners. If you're an occupational therapist or a speech and language therapist, it is your ethical obligation, in my opinion, to learn about nutrition, to ask the question, what is your patient eating for breakfast? How much sleep is he getting? How much mold has he been exposed to? Mold is a big topic right now, and almost everybody has a leak, and those new houses are wrapped in plastic, which seal in the mold. And many, many, many of our children are mold exposed, and their symptoms are caused by dampness and mold. And doctors rarely ask questions about this subject.
Yes, they rarely do it. I know that's vitally important just because of how widespread it really is and how people don't actually know that they're breathing in mold on a daily basis. Those
No, they just know they
mycotoxins.
hurt, and they need a box of Kleenex a day, and they can't sleep. But nobody says, has your roof ever leaked? Or when did this start? And how do you feel when you're on vacation and in a different location? Maybe you're living in a sick house. I know so many families who, when they leave the house that they live in regularly and rent a house for the summer, all of a sudden they feel better and they don't realize that it's the house that's making them sick.
Yes. So that's so important. So all that stuff is in your new book. So everybody's got to go read it. End of November, it comes out on Amazon. So, Patty, anything else you want to tell our audience today?
Well, the book is available for pre-order, and it is has a children's health defense imprint on it. It's published by Skyhorse, and you can see that at the bottom of the cover there. Children's Health Defense, and my friend Mary Holland, who's the CEO there, encouraged me to write this book after my previous book, Outsmarting Autism, went out of print. And she called that the Bible of healing autism. And that, I said, I'm too old to write another book. And she said, nope, you have to write another book. And so this is what emerged. And I'm grateful to James Maskell, a functional medicine and integrative medicine guru, for writing me a beautiful, beautiful foreword. And his people are helping me market the book also. And I just hope that there's a there's a section on neurodiversity, which you and I could have a long conversation about. I support the neurodiverse community for being respected and loved unconditionally. And many of them don't realize that some of their sensory issues and nutritional issues are identifiable by the cause, and that we can help them feel better. We can lead them, no matter what their age, toward some interventions that help them lead a more productive life.
Great. Well, thank you for that. So it's never too late to start making changes, and so everybody
Right.
go read Patty's other books as well. She's got 4 books now, so yeah, go look her up. And this is absolutely fantastic work. It really
Thank you
is, and
so much.
absolutely vital. But
They could
thank you.
also listen to my podcast. I have a podcast called The Autism Detectives, which runs on healthylife.net radio, which is on the web. And then I post it afterwards on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and elsewhere. And there's now over 125 episodes of Autism Detectives. And the other thing that we did mention that I have to throw in, I know we're running out of time, but this new book has an AI component to it, which is quite remarkable. And I won't give you the long story of how that happened. It's in the book, but it's a father of a young son in Australia who attributes his son's recovery from severe autism to reading Outsmarting Autism. And he has given me as a gift a sort of a chat GPT type question and answer application that you can access if you purchase the book. And you can ask the question, any question that you want of me and the book and my podcast. It searches my intellectual property as ChatGPT searches the universe. So it's just me that this AI component is searching, and you can ask it a question and get an answer. And it will, if I can figure out how to use the technology and record my voice, he will clone it. The guy who's done it is going to clone my voice, and I will answer you by voice, which is science fiction for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so that also means the AI won't be biased towards, all this garbage because we know,
Right.
yeah. So since it's drawing from your materials, it'll be very truth seeking and that'll be great. But all right, Patty. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, and give Dr. McCullum my best. I brought him to Chautauqua this past summer, and we had a wonderful time with him there. I'm so grateful to him and to you and the foundation. And thank you for having me on today.
Thank you so much.